Carrie broke up with Aiden. Woo!
Yay! Oh my god! I had the thought of, what if I opened a bottle of champagne? But also I was like, it's 11 a.m., Caroline. That would be crazy. What are we doing?
Welcome back to And Just Like Yap, where we recap and yap about the current third season of And Just Like That. We are going to talk about episode 9, which is called Present Tense. And first things first, let's get it out of the way. Carrie broke up with Aiden. Woo!
Yay! Oh my god!
Yay!
I had the thought of, what if I opened a bottle of champagne? But also I was like, it's 11 a.m., Caroline. That would be crazy. What are we doing? The Great American Nightmare is over. We made it, everyone.
And thank God. Let's jump right in. First of all, we've got Carrie walking through her apartment. She has just returned home from, I assume, picking up her dry cleaning. And she's wearing like a fancy fashion dirndl, which is a choice.
I felt like it was very like, high on a hill, a lonely goat herd lay, yodelay, yodelay.
Did you make that out of curtains, Carrie? But she looks amazing in it, as always, looking radiant. She's calling out for Aiden because she can't find him in the house. And we get this cursed image of Aiden outside with Duncan. He found a way to weasel himself downstairs to meet up with Duncan.
Also, I'm just noticing in the screenshot, did Adam finish the garden?
It looks like he may have, and interesting garden.
Yeah.
We've got some very tightly organized squares of, it looks like lavender or lilac, and some shrub. It's not what I would choose if I was paying someone to set up a garden for 1,000 years, but it looks nice. It looks organized, and hopefully there isn't a whole colony of rats living in it.
Amen. But yeah, this was shocking to see the two of them. It felt like, you know, your two little sleep paralysis demons, like, coming out to stare at you, like you're a ghost of Christmas past and present.
Yeah, like, this is the stuff of nightmares. Like, I've had nightmares where I'm like, why are these two people in the same room and speaking to me? And then we have a quick cut back to Adam and Seema. We are still on the deodorant thing, which just feels like, can we get off the deodorant? Like, he kisses her on the mouth after having put her deodorant on his mouth, which, by the way, I'm like, should someone call poison control? Like, that's not, you shouldn't be doing that.
I know. I had the same thought. Also, well, two things. This made me think this episode and last week's episode were meant to be one episode. The way that, like, some of these plot lines happened, I was like, this felt like a resolve from last week. And we felt like last week's episode and this episode were very short. It made me think, what if this was supposed to be a 60-minute episode?
You're probably right, and I'm really glad that they split them up, because this 60-minute episode would have broken me.
It would have killed everyone. But my other thought, but this made me think of, was this something from, like, Goop? Because it looks like the jade egg that, like, Gwyneth Paltrow told everyone to put in their vaginas. I was like, is Adam just walking around with 2 rock crystals in his armpits all day?
He's trying to get her to use this rock, and she gives in. Once she's alone post-shower in her steamy, beautiful bathroom, she's like, you know what? What the hell? I'll rub it under my armpits. What's the worst that could happen? We know something is going to happen with this deodorant, otherwise this wouldn't be going on.
I feel like we should have gotten a warning before we saw armpit sex again. I don't know what it is about, like, seeing armpit sex that makes it feel like it's very, not to kink shame anyone. If you love armpit sex, I love that for you. But I don't see it enough that when I see armpit sex on the screen, I need a little bit of, like, preparation for it.
Give me some foreplay. Warm me up a little bit. Buy me a drink first. So we are back to the garden party from hell. Carrie looks so violently uncomfortable sitting between these two men, which this has already been pointed out by people who meme faster than I do anything in my life. But it is a callback, obviously, to the Sex and the Country series of episodes where Big comes to visit Carrie and Aiden in Suffern. And of course, they fight first, and then they work it out by gabbing about their lady problems together. And Carrie's stuck in the middle once again.
She can reach me, but I can't reach her. I remember what the lines are. Yeah.
Yeah, Carrie is once again sandwiched between two very disparate men in her life who she did not want to ever meet each other in this way, but
this is when like Aiden is at like 100 version of Aiden. It was when he competes with other men. All he can like, that's the only way he knows how to have a conversation is how can I one up this man across from me and prove my masculinity. And it's just, that's when I truly can't stand Aiden any more than I already can't, which is not, the patience has been wearing thin for weeks. We're episode 9. This has been 2 months of us
for weeks. Yes.
Yeah, so it's just, we see some of his old behaviors coming out here.
Yeah, I am positive that Aiden has no friends, because if this is the way he is with other men, like constantly trying to compete with them, he definitely doesn't have any friends who are male. And I don't know that he knows how to have a female friend that isn't someone he's in a romantic relationship with. So this man has 0 friends. He just puts siding on his house and does a weird, bad job of parenting. Then, of course, Aiden goes in on Duncan and is like, what's the deal with the pipe? Poke fun at him, but under the guise of like, I'm just asking questions. This line really took me. Duncan says, it's just kind of a nipple, really. Meaning that, like, it's just like a fixation, I guess, but I don't know why we had to say it's a nipple, because then Carrie immediately goes, I get that.
I know. I did have to look up. I was like, is this British slang that I'm not aware of? And trust me, I have someone who has absorbed thousands of hours of Love Island UK, and that is not a slang term that I've used. And it nipple was nipple here.
So then Aiden is, of course, like, what do you mean you get a nipple, Carrie? And, like, this is where we first start to see Carrie, like, outwardly being like, hey, Aiden, why don't you just fucking drop it? Because she's like, the man smokes a pipe, leave it alone. So we're starting to see her wear thin. We have been dealing with this bullshit all goddamn summer, and she is finally starting to realize that, like, maybe this isn't it.
We find out Duncan doesn't have kids, and then Carrie brushes past Aiden talking about the kids. And that was like a very big first, like, oh, interesting. He's like, yeah, my kids are great. And Carrie brushes past it and instead just completely ignores that. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Yes.
We see that there's like, everything is like coming to brew, because Carrie has been very even keeled in a like almost a horror movie way this entire season, which Miranda's pointed out. So I think as we see, everything's about to like take off.
We cut to Harry and Charlotte, who are having a terrible time. Harry's still healing from his surgery, so as he says, he's still hauling around 2 cantaloupes. And Charlotte, her vertigo is very bad, so she's just hunched over, and she's very upset that they're living in a mess in addition to both being incapacitated. This reminded me a lot, though, of...
Yes!
From the original series. When they are suffering through food poisoning together, and Carrie's narration says that, like, that this is the stuff of lasting love, which I totally agree with.
It humbles you to, like, your most basic instincts. The two of you have to bond over the fact that, like, we need each other to survive.
And then we are taken to Seema's new office. She is welcoming Carrie to the new home of the Patel group. And she mentions that she was able to get this space because now that nobody's going into the office post-COVID, it's like a sample sale. She does have one member of her staff now, which I loved this choice. That she won are told in the divorce from Ravi. Because look at him. He's so smiley. He's so fashionable in his Louis Vuitton belt.
And his Birkin.
And Carrie, like, obviously notices that he's got a Birkin. Yeah. And I am excited that they brought this character back. Like, this was an additional character that I wanted to see more of. I did not want to see more of Ravi, so I'm glad that they were like, we can bring him back without Ravi. Seema and Carrie have one of their sushi lunches where Carrie is mentioning that, like, she set up a boundary. She said, Aiden, please don't bother Duncan. Please don't speak to him. And Aiden just went ahead and did whatever the hell he wanted. And then she reveals to Seema that the reason why Aiden is so insecure is not necessarily because of Duncan. It is because of Carrie. And as far as I know, this is the first time that she's revealed this information to Seema, because previously all their conversations about Aiden in prior seasons were Seema being a little bit understandably jealous that Carrie has had these like two great loves in her life. So Seema did not know what we all had to suffer through previously, the love triangle that was John, Carrie, and Aiden.
I yelped because it's the first that we've been talking about this. There's been no mention of Big this entire season. So to hear him so
Nope.
like poignantly mentioned in this moment, I was like, okay, maybe we're getting on the, I don't know. I just was like, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I feel like we're building to the thing we've all been wanting. But it just felt like this was the most honest we've seen Carrie be all season, and the most Carrie we've seen her be all season. And the fact that like she's acknowledging like these old wounds are still kind of fresh. They haven't healed for Aiden because he's still having the same trust issues that have come up time and time again. As someone who just rewatched all of their breakups this morning, the same things keep coming up.
It's almost as if while she's with Aiden, she didn't even want to acknowledge that John ever existed, even when Aiden wasn't around, because she knew that it would upset Aiden so much. Also, I appreciated that Seema is her own character. She's not a stand-in for Samantha, but she does provide some of the energy that we're missing without Samantha, and I appreciated that her reaction to it was very much the same as Samantha's reaction of like, cool, this happened. Like she didn't, there was no like face of judgment or whatever. It was just sort of like accepting it as a fact. That's one of my favorite Samantha moments ever, when Carrie's like, don't you want to judge me just a little bit? And Samantha's like, not my style. This makes sense why Aiden was asking so many questions to her and Adam at the gallery about Duncan, which then further upsets Carrie because she's realizing it's not just that Aiden's being insecure in her home. He's being insecure out in the world with her friends, which is a bad look, obviously.
But I think like Seema is sort of like, now she's getting more context of like the back issues with Aiden. So it feels like we're seeing that all come together, and Seema's like coming. It is also interesting, I think, that she's telling Seema all of this and like not Miranda and not Charlotte. I think it's interesting that we sort of have put her in this light, especially since we still haven't seen really any resolve from that fight with Carrie and Miranda yet from 2 episodes ago.
That's a really good point,
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious to see, especially after this episode, what that dynamic is going to be with Carrie and the OG girls.
Okay, so then we are brought to the briefest of plot lines for Herbert and LTW, and it is that Herbert is stress eating. He opens the fridge. He's like, why is there cheese? Why did we buy Nutty Buddies? Why is there angel hair pasta? I understand it. I have been a stress eater, but also you're a father of 3. You live in a home with 4 other people. Like, there's going to be food in the house. As someone who's very pro-intuitive eating, I could recommend some podcasts and some books for Herbert to check out.
Also, it's just like, again, the Wexlers are on a different TV show. Like, every time we cut away to them, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, this is a completely different TV show than everything else we're watching. Like, give them a real plot line. Like, I have to deal with, like, we sort of graze over Marion. This documentary is, I still have to be invested in this documentary. Her dad died. Like, everything just feels like they're throwing plot lines at a wall to see, like, what sticks. And it's just, I don't know. It just feels like too much.
As you pointed out, they haven't really woven Lisa into the core group of friends fully. She's often missing when they have, like, lunches and meals. And it feels like, in the same vein, we still have yet to bring up Nia Wallace's name. Like, she's just gone. She just disappeared into the ether. She got her Michelin star boyfriend Toussaint, and we never hear from her again. But it feels like Seema is really becoming a core friend, and, like, Lisa is still just Charlotte's friend. And then Seema rushes to a client lunch that our told has booked for her, but it was very last minute, so she had to rush all the way across town. She's out of breath. She gets in, and all of a sudden, the guy she's meeting with is like, ooh, the waiter really smells bad. Maybe he doesn't wear deodorant. And of course, Seema is immediately panic-stricken because here it is, the consequences of using a crystal on a piece of hemp. She sniffs herself and realizes that she is the one who smells. So she rushes off to the bathroom where she gets her purse deodorant. She ends up being the woman we saw last week putting on her deodorant in public, despite the fact that she's like, I'm not this woman. I don't want to be this woman. I mean, we've all been this woman. I am this woman.
She is the woman. I am the woman. We are women. We are we are a family.
We had a lot of people in our comments about the crystal deodorant being like, it works, it's really good. You guys, I will buy it, I will try it, I will do a review. But if Seema is any evidence, it may not work for everybody, okay?
Well, and also, to be fair, I feel like the stuff that was, like, in our comments was on a tube. This is, like, again, it's a rock on a string from Goop headquarters.
Yes.
So I feel like those are two different things.
That was a rose quartz that you're supposed to, like, keep in your house so that, like, you fall in love, you know? Like, it's supposed to, like, defend you from ill will. And then we are back to Joy and Miranda, who are having a nice little dinner. I do think that, like, somebody on the And Just Like That production team must, like, know someone at Ungava Gin because they keep saying it by name, Ungava Gin, when she could have just been like, where's my bottle of gin? Not, where's my bottle of Ungava Gin?
Not a bad price point. It's like $28 from what I can see online. Maybe I try the gin and you try the deodorant.
I'm gonna be smelly and you're gonna be drunk and it's gonna be a mess.
Great.
Miranda reveals that the bottle of Ungava gin is shattered at the bottom of the trash chute. And finally, Miranda reveals, like, it's not just like a I don't drink, I am an alcoholic. And she says, I'm sorry to bring this up in the middle of our very fun thing that we're doing. Mm-hmm. I'm also sorry that she brought it up while wearing puka shell sleeves, because I feel like that really takes the air out of the tires of the conversation. Because what?
Look, Miranda's a lesbian
like,
now.
Puka shell sleeves? I don't think that's an excuse. I think we have put puka shells firmly to rest in fashion. I don't understand this shirt at all. I mean, like, listen, I had my own puka shell hemp necklace. Who didn't? Okay? I bought it at the Ron John Surf Shop in Ocean City, New Jersey, which is the place to buy a puka shell necklace. Okay, so I had a good one.
You got it straight from the source.
I had the Return to Tiffany's necklace of puka shell necklaces. Okay, so I know. This difficult conversation that Miranda was so afraid of having, of course, goes really well because, like, Joy is awesome and an intelligent, like, both regular intelligent and emotionally intelligent person. And she says to Miranda, like, this is going to be hard for me because I don't like feeling bad about myself, and I will feel bad about myself if I drink in front of you. And then this was so sweet. She says, turns out I did bring my emotional baggage. And Miranda says, I have room. So sweet. I loved it.
I know.
I feel like this was actually, like, a moment of, like, pretty good balanced writing here on the show, because we're seeing that Carrie and Aiden cannot communicate at all. And then we see these two intelligent, level-headed lesbians figure it out in, I don't know, 6 sentences.
Amen.
I am curious to know more about Joy's baggage, though, because I feel like this actress, Dolly Wells, is out-acting everybody else on this show, because we still have no, like, real information about Joy's past, but she has been playing this level of emotional baggage as, like, an undercurrent, like, through the entire season. She tells Miranda, like, she shuts down when she likes somebody. There are other examples where, like, you can kind of tell, like, I don't understand why she's being so, like, hesitant and guarded, but I would like to know more about why Joy is so insecure, because it seems like that's where a lot of her drawbacks are coming from, but we don't have more information about why that is yet.
No, but you know what? Dolly Wells is playing her objectives.
She knows what her character ate for breakfast that morning.
She did her journal entries as Joy.
The quickest, briefest cut to Herbert calls LTW while she is editing her documentary.
The first, but not the last.
Nice little nod to the seltzer of last week. She's drinking her limoncello LaCroix. And yeah, Herbert's just like, I gained a pound. And rightfully, Lisa is like, I've had enough of your bullshit. Goodbye. Yeah, which is another great way to deal with your significant other. So, Carrie, take some lessons.
Take notes.
And then this just warmed every part of my heart. Like, speaking of Bridget Jones, this just had such like a cozy British vibe, and it really made me feel like this is what Carrie's life should look like. The two of them, cozy, writing, working on like their respective passions. She's in like her like ugly reading glasses in front of him, but she doesn't care because they're very comfortable together. She gives him a note about his Margaret Thatcher book about how like the younger versions of Margaret feel like they're not young enough. And there's a brief moment where like I'm so traumatized from Jack Berger that I was like, oh no, he's gonna get defensive. It's gonna be the scrunchy thing all over again. And then he just like processes it and takes it in and is like, cool, which specific parts do you think that came up in? And I was just like, ugh, I love this man. I love the two of them together. If you can have this kind of creative relationship with somebody, like I feel like it would translate very well into a relationship because people are very passionate about their creative lives and they can be very defensive about that. And if you can come together and like give each other constructive criticism, you can absolutely navigate your way through a relationship like 100%.
Yeah, because writing is such a vulnerable medium because it's so everything that's inside your head on a paper. And if you have a partner that can see that, hold like space for that and have respect for that, like that really, I don't know, yeah, it speaks volumes to how you're able to be vulnerable with each other in a relationship. Because I know with like my writing, still barely only shown a few people because it's jarring. You're like, I'm so protective of that and like what I have to say, and you want to be able to know that it's treated and handled with respect, you know?
So I just love this. Like this made me so happy. And then of course, coming in to ruin it all is Aiden at the door. Carrie told him not to bother them and that she was going to be late. And he's like, I got steaks. Let me bake some steaks.
I got steaks, Carrie.
Yeah. This is like horror movie stuff. He's like, I can bring them down while they're still sizzling. Like, we all got to eat. Like, come on, come upstairs. And he just keeps badgering her, like, I don't want to eat dinner alone. When are you going to be back? In an article, like a Hollywood Reporter article you sent me about this episode, or somebody said, like, in her relationship with Big, if she had been like, I have to go write for a really long time, Big would have been like, cool, see you later.
Yeah.
Because he was comfortable with her having her own life, and that's why they worked. And, you know, Aiden, I know he's only in town, like, temporarily and wants to spend time with her, but it's clear there's something else going on. Like, he just can't stand the fact that she's hanging out with another guy alone, even though Carrie has confirmed to him several times, like, it is work. And, like, yeah, we've seen Carrie and Duncan flirting, but that's it. That's the extent of it.
Also, lest we forget, Aiden just admitted to sleeping with Kathy 2 to 3 episodes ago. The steak protest too much. And I think also, it heightens like Aiden's insecurities that Carrie has had this whole life in New York without him while he's been in Virginia, expecting her to just like wait on him, and clearly she hasn't. And I think he just feels so threatened. We can see in this entire episode of him wanting to hang on to every last tether of Carrie.
Yeah. Like, she told you not to talk to him, and now you're like coming downstairs and knocking on the door. Like, I don't know. Send her a text. Carrie is like, no, I'm sure it's not that kind of thing. We don't need to have dinner with him. Just like, please go back upstairs. You're making me very uncomfortable having to have me like whisper in the doorway in front of him. Like, please, for the love of God, just go back upstairs and, like, eat your dinner without me. Then Gia is having dinner at Anthony's. Anthony has made her a beautiful risotto, which she is not enjoying, and she grabs the salt and pepper to, like, you know, prove a point that he hasn't seasoned the food enough. And then, of course, she realized that they are, you know, leather daddy salt and pepper shakers. Just another thing to add to the pile of why she doesn't like Anthony. And then they get down to the actual, like, meat of the situation, because Anthony's finally like, enough of this. Like, what is the problem? And it's what we expected. You know, she also was with somebody 30 years her senior, and she doesn't want her son to have the same experience she did because she had to take care of a dying old man when she was in the prime of her life, to which Anthony responds, he tries to say that he's younger than 62 and then is like 62 final offer, which I thought was funny. I was thinking to myself, I was like, Gia, don't worry about it. If you're a fabulous gay guy, Elliot, remember Elliot? He's 90.
Right. Elliot just retired. Like...
He just retired, and he still seems like he has another good 30 years in him. So, like, don't worry. Like, fabulous gay men don't age the same way we age.
I did also think, I was like, wow, is this the cut corner? Gia's just planting wires all over the apartment for her article that she's about to drop in the season finale of And Just Like That. That's going to expose everything at Hot Fellas headquarters.
Listen, we still have no evidence to the contrary, so it's still in the mix. It's still in the mix. Like, yeah, maybe she picked up the salt and pepper shaker to bug him, you know? Like, there's a tiny microphone behind that leather daddy salt shaker. This I just love. She's trying to really hit home that, like, Anthony can't provide anything for her son. And she's like, villas, plural. We have 3 villas, which that's just rude, Gia.
That's too many villas.
The tension has been building, and the gloves really do come off in the form of her accent suddenly disappears when she's like, let's cut the shit. And he's like, oh, I know who you are. You're my manipulative Aunt Michelina. He's like, oh, an angry Italian-American woman who's like judging all of my choices and like won't see me for who I am. That's my aunt. I'm familiar with this. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was funny. And then, of course, she freaks out even more and is like, your salt and penis shakers, and then throws the entire dinner off the table in a fit of rage, which then she is shocked about immediately afterward because Anthony is like, somebody needs a good therapist. Know anybody? Obviously, because taking a shot at her because she's supposedly a therapist. She's horrified by what she did. She tries to like start cleaning up, and then Giuseppe walks in right at the moment as Gia is holding the knife, holding the bread knife. Yeah. What did you think about this whole fight?
I mean, I wrote in my notes, I was like, wow, this is the gayest fight since Hugh Grant and Colin Firth calling back to Bridget Jones when they're fighting in the street and they fall into the Greek restaurant to set it, It's Raining Men. I can't wait for like the future music edits to this that like have Anthony versus Patti LuPone just like going at it. I mean, this was like the natural build to this like crazy plot line where like I'm supposed to care, but I don't know that like I'm emotionally invested. I'm just like, Patty, just, you know, get to know Anthony a bit, you know? Let your son live.
You asked me specifically to take a screenshot of the font that they decided to choose for when Gia is speaking in Italian, because this is kind of a ridiculous font choice, I will say. Like, this is not a font choice that can be taken seriously.
No, and especially, like, it's so large. Like, normally when it's, we're getting captions from another language, it's, like, it's much smaller. But I was like, is this because they think that the demographic audience is, like, much older? They want to make it very easy on the eyes. But it just felt like it took up so much space on the screen. I don't know. Aesthetically, it was doing a lot for my brain.
It was surprising to me as well. Like, it's not Comic Sans, but it's definitely Comic Sans adjacent.
Correct.
But Gia says that she's not going to bankroll Giuseppe's life here anymore if, like, this is the relationship he wants to continue to be in, which does give you some clue as to how our gentle poet has been sustaining his life in New York. Can't live on bread and poetry alone. She leaves speaking in rapid Italian that, you know, she hates everything and the hallway smells. And Anthony's like, what did she say? And Giuseppe's like, thanks for dinner. And then this pissed me the fuck off. You do not, I don't care how angry you are, you do not leave expensive, nice meat. Just put the tray in the fridge. You don't even have to have the courtesy of covering up. Why would you leave it out other than so that when your significant other eventually does come upstairs, she can see that you angrily left out raw meat? Clean up after yourself, you piece of shit. Like, you little baby. Like, are you serious? Like, this really made me angry.
I know.
Because this raw meat is supposed to send a message. This is basically like a horse head in the bed to carry.
Also, I was like, these are massive steaks. Like, for 3 people, this could feed, like, half a nation. These steaks are so large.
This is some loaded meat right here. Because, like, the 2 giant steaks also could symbolize, like, you know, it's like a ball measuring contest, a dick measuring contest. Like, look how big my steaks are, Duncan.
I know.
This one shot just said so many things. Like, this man is an infant. And then we have Aiden lying in bed like Beth March, dying of scarlet fever and rejection. So fucking dramatic. Like, I guarantee you he heard Carrie coming up the stairs and he, like, got off his phone and was just like, oh, I'm so upset.
Oh, my God.
Like, you know he positioned himself like that when he heard her come in. Like, there's no way he did it. He was definitely playing, like, Candy Crush on his phone and, like, having a grand old time being a piece of shit. And then he was like, oh, Carrie's here.
Everything is rubbing, like, more salt in the wound. Like, Aiden is the victim, I'm the victim, woe is me, woe is me. It's just, it's such icky behavior. I know the tactics he is using here, and I wanted to leap through the screen and strangle that big old horse neck and just, like...
I know these tactics. I've played these tactics before, but I was in my mid-20s, okay? This is not acceptable behavior for an adult man who is trying to shape the lives of 3 younger men. Like, not acceptable. And then this, I could have killed him.
Oh my God.
I could have killed him. I would have killed him. Like, Carrie, you already have your arms close to his neck, just strangle him.
Every jury would have been on her side. If a 12-woman jury would have been like, not guilty. Not guilty.
He had it coming. This is your cell block tango moment, Carrie. Like, you come home, the stakes are out, he tells you to get off of him, like, strangle him. We would all acquit you.
Stab him.
Every single woman on earth.
Stab him.
But, like, maybe out of the bed first so that you can keep your bed nice. But, yeah, so he says, get away from me after she crawls into bed with him. And I couldn't get a picture of it where, like, her eye opens, like, during this moment. But her eye opens and she's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And he's like, you smell like smoke. Like, don't come anywhere near me. Take a shower. And he doesn't then immediately apologize for saying that. Like, it's bad enough that he says that, but she sits up and is clearly like, I'm upset.
He awoke a sleeper cell agent from, like, season 3 and 4. It's like Carrie's starting to put together, like, oh no, like, the old issues that I thought we, like, moved past, they are still very much here. They're still very much in the room with us.
Aiden often is thought of in the original series as, like, the good guy, the nice guy, the guy that, like, Carrie wronged, and he was never wrong. But, you know, as they say in When Harry Met Sally, cheating is a symptom of a larger problem. And obviously Carrie was still at fault for cheating, but Aiden has anger issues, and he always has. They got into screaming fights when they were together. He's not good at, like, apologizing and owning up to his behavior. And then Carrie looks so sad post-shower. Like, she's got her wet hair and she's just moping down the hallway. And this really made me happy. She chooses to just sleep in the other room. Yep. Like, she doesn't talk to him. She just goes into the other room to go to sleep. And, like, you could call that passive-aggressive, but at this point, I'm 100% on her side with, like, this being the right move, because Aiden has proven several times during this episode that he's just not listening to her and not adjusting his behavior accordingly. So, like, yeah, go fucking sleep in the other room. Like, don't talk to this man.
Yeah.
There's no talking to this man. He comes in and is like, why are you in here? Why do you think she's in there? Maybe it's because you said, get off of me. And she says, you told me to get away, so this is where I'm sleeping. And I really appreciated that he was like, for real? And she was like, yes, close the door.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
You know,
fight back.
And the smoke thing, it made me think of, remember when he, like, puts the, like, patch on her when she's, like, feeling so guilty trying to quit smoking in season 3, season 4, and he, like, slaps the nicotine patch on her. He's just, yeah, like we've said, he's just so retaliatory.
The next morning, Carrie's still mad, and Aiden's like, why are you still mad? And Carrie's like, I have every right to still be mad. And Aiden's trying to, like, backtrack and be like, I said hello to him because I was out on the terrace and he came out. Like, why wouldn't I say hello to him? And then Carrie goes in and is like, but why were you out there?
Right.
Which, on surface level, it's like, well, people are allowed to go out on the terrace.
Yeah.
But Carrie went on and on in the beginning of the season about how, like, she feels like she's in a mature place and, like, she had grown a lot.
Yeah.
But then her communication style with Aiden this entire time has been like, oh, it's fine, I'll just ignore it. And so it felt so satisfying to see her finally be like, I'm not a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I know what you're up to. And to just, like, full force confront him. So they have a blowout fight, and she says, she specifically identifies, she's like, Aiden, you're worried about me and another man. And this was very brave to just, like, immediately, like, be like, here is your insecurity. I am going to name it and point it out to you. So you cannot claim that you don't know or that I don't know. Like, we know what the issue is. Aiden freaks out, of course, and is like, go for a fucking walk, which is very similar to when they have that fight in the original series when, like, all of his shit is in her apartment before they move in together. Screaming after your significant other, go for a fucking walk, like, this isn't what, like, a nice, healthy person does. Like, this is bad.
Yeah.
Throws the wooden spoon like a baby. I went from hating this man to, like, absolutely abhorring him and also feeling, like, kind of frightened of him. Like, I'm sorry, men. Like, you're allowed to have emotions and get angry, but, like, sometimes it turns a corner where you're like, I don't know. I don't want to be in the house with those.
And this man is a father of 3.
Yeah.
Passing this behavior down.
Thank God Homer is elsewhere right now because I have hope for Homer.
Homer, don't return home.
Yes.
This was the most realistic fight I think the two of them have had this entire season. So it just felt like such a release. Carrie's not someone to just, like, bury things under the surface. So it just felt good to,
No.
I don't know, feel like we're talking about the things that needed to be talked about.
Then we have the cameo of all cameos, Andy Cohen reprising his role as a shoe salesman, which he originally was in season 6 when they're at Barney's and Carrie ends up shopping for shoes because Charlotte gets lost while wearing her blindfold. But Andy Cohen is back and he's like, Carrie, I'm slammed, but I'll be right with you. And Carrie's like, I'm just looking. This was delightful. And I know you probably have a little more context than I do since you are a huge Watch What Happens fan. I'm assuming that Andy Cohen and SJP, like, have a friendship.
Oh, yeah. They're best friends. Him, Sarah, and Amy Sedaris. I would say, like, the 3 of them are, like, a very tight trio. They originally met, I don't know if it was, like, late 90s, early 2000s. Andy was working on a morning show, and I think she had an interview there, and he, like, they met in passing, and then, like, there was, like, another interview, maybe he was interviewing her, and then they, like, clicked from there, and ever since then, they've been besties. Like, Sarah did a big post when he adopted his son, Ben. Every season, just like that, she's done, like, a one-on-one interview with Andy in the clubhouse, which is very rare. Typically, like, it has to be, like, someone huge for him to have not 2 guests on one episode. So it just speaks a lot to their relationship and, like, that they are actual friends who hang out a lot together. Whenever they do videos together and in my feed, I'm like, oh, it's mom and dad. Mom and dad are hanging out. Because there was one video where they were like drunk and walking around New York, and they're like, oh my God, the friend's house is here. And she's like, oh, and Carrie's apartment was like over here. And it's just like, you can tell like that it's a very intimate rapport with the two of them. So it was very delightful to see this specific cameo come back, because it was like, oh, because they're friends, they're real friends, and it was really wonderful. And also, it's crazy to think that that first cameo was 20 years ago, and I'm like, Andy, my guy, you went gray so fast.
I know, but he still looks really good. Like, so yeah, Carrie goes on her stress walk and ends up obviously in a shoe department. And then Carrie gets a text while shoe shopping. She still has the background on her phone that came fresh out of the box from the Apple store. And then they sit down, and initially Aiden is like, I'm sorry, you were right. But then he makes the mistake of saying, I do have trust issues with you around other men. And Carrie's like, what tense are we using? Because I have given you no reason to have current trust issues. And then Aiden takes a shot at her, and Duncan is like, well, I'm sorry I'm not a writer like you and Sherlock Holmes. Just fucking shoot this man in the face. Like, I can't. I can't. The fight escalates, and Carrie's like, truly, I haven't done anything to make you suspicious. And then we get this interaction. Well, can you fucking blame me? Can you stop fucking blaming me? And it's like, we are having the same argument that we had 20 years ago. Like, how has this man not moved on? You got married, you got divorced, there's 3 kids in the mix. Like, also, like you said earlier, Aiden, you guys had very, like, weird terms in this, like, relationship, and you ended up cheating.
Yeah.
So, like, what the fuck? Like, what is this double standard? Like, we're still holding Carrie accountable for something that happened 20 years ago when you guys have both had entirely other lives since then. And you also just betrayed her by sleeping with your ex. So, like, what?
I know. I wish, like, a ghost of Big could come out smoking a cigar saying, like, I'm the ghost that lives rent-free in your head, Aiden.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Aiden is regularly visited by the ghost of Big, and maybe that explains this terrible behavior. Like, Big is just constantly, like, Christmas caroling.
with his glass of scotch and his cigar, being like, yeah, isn't it nice? You're getting my leftovers.
Yeah. He's going to get visited by 3 different eras of Big tonight. And then Carrie goes on, she gets it from the table and is like, I moved apartments for you, which is a huge deal. Carrie has had that same apartment for a long ass time. And you'll remember I said in the beginning of this season, because we see Lisette briefly, I'm like, the apartment is a big thing. I don't know if Carrie's going to end up back there or what, but, like, we still have a very clear emotional attachment to the apartment, and we're still not okay with the fact that we have upended our entire life and invested in very expensive New York real estate in order to please this man. So that comes out, and then Aiden is like, are we past tense? Like, because you said I was 100% in. Like, is it was, or are we still 100% in? And then Carrie very quietly blurts out, was. It is over. And I will say, I was surprised by my sadness initially. And then Aiden's like, I'm sad. And I was like, never mind, I'm fine.
Here's what I'll say. This fight on the street made me think of the end of season 6 before Carrie goes to Paris and yells at Big. Really selling it, and, like, just, like, they have worn over every bit of, like, every fertile land that there could be in this relationship, and they tried again. We tried the ring on a string. We tried with Pete in the street. We tried in Abu Dhabi. It ain't working. It's broke. We're done.
Yeah, like, Big's dead. Like, the main obstacle that was keeping you two apart, he's literally buried in the ground, and you still, it's not working. And I appreciated the fact that it came from Carrie. Yeah. Like, it came from Carrie, and Carrie was the one to be like, in so many words, like, you have not moved on and emotionally matured. You have not faced your own demons. and like I have, so I can't be with you, which is the healthy thing to do. Obviously, it is very sad. They go in for a hug just as the opening stanzas of Taylor Swift, How Did It End? I was not familiar with this song because it is off of the newest album, which is 100 songs long.
To get Taylor as your needle drop always feels very poignant because you have to get permission like from the artist, and Taylor is very particular about the pieces of media that uses her music. So I was like, oh, fascinating that like this was a specific moment that we're using How Did It End, because that's really signifying that like this is done. Carrie and Aiden are over. This is a track 5 on the bonus, like the second half of the double album of Torture Poets Department, which feels very appropriate because it feels like we're in the post-mortem of this relationship of these two people trying to make this happen again. And track 5s with Taylor are very notorious that they're like the heaviest, most emotional, like in depth on any of her albums. Everyone waits to see what the track 5 is.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that about her.
Yes, like All Too Well was a track 5 on Red. As well, we had Delicate was a track 5 on Reputation. All You Had to Do Was Stay was track 5 on 1989. My Tears Ricochet was track 5 on Folklore. Tolerate It. Oh, Tolerate It. Tolerate It is like very Carrie Aidan coded, because it's a lot of like, I'm written in the footnotes of your life and trying to like really make these things happen. They're just always like very emotionally heavy. You're on Your Own, Kid is track 5 on Midnights, but So Long London is track 5 on the first half of this album. And both of these are like bookends to her relationship with Joe Alwyn, which had me like think a lot about the parallels of those two things, because it's like Taylor had to make a lot of concessions in her relationship with Joe and like what he would allow her to be in his life and how visible, and it was a lot of her not getting to be out in public because that's not what Joe wanted, and a lot of just having to make herself smaller for him. And like of some of the lyrics that like really stood out, like Come One, Come All's happening again, the empathetic hunger descends, will tell no one except all of her friends. And it's that moment like after a breakup where it's like you're like, this has ruined your entire life, but everyone else is so hungry to know the gossip. They don't care that you're like devastated. They're like ready to tell everyone and be like, yeah, of course this happened again to you. Of course the two of you broke up. And like that may be the case, but it's also like this ruined and upended your entire life. And the bridge, like this entire song is devastating. I don't listen to it super often because it is very sad, and I'm like, I have to be in a very specific place to listen to it. But the bridge is say it once again with feeling, how the death rattle breathing, silence as the soul is leaving, deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling, my beloved ghost and me sitting in a tree, DIYING.
Damn.
Yeah.
The girl can write lyrics. I have to say, like,
yeah.
It was well placed and like really excellent use of this. And then the song is still going on as she's taken down their Virginia postcards, as she's cuddling with Shu for comfort. And then as she is picking herself up out of her apartment.
Gorgeous.
Looking
hot.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And it's still playing as she goes back to her true family.
The girls.
Her friends. The girls. And like there is nothing that makes me weepier than like a picture of friendship on Sex and the City through the restaurant window.
Yeah.
Like perfectly framed. A satisfying ending of like Carrie is going to be fine because ultimately the loves of her life are her friends. They always have been. They always will be.
She looks incredible. Like there's no better fresh glow than a woman fresh off a breakup with a toxic ex. I mean, it's just a reminder. Sometimes things should be left in the past. And I'm glad to see our girl moving forward. I'm excited for the window that's now open with Duncan. I will say the piece of item of clothing I got very excited to see in the teaser next week. I saw the Paris dress in the closet and I yelped.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting.
And I saw a very important person next week. Miranda.
I know Steve's back. Thank God. Thank God. Ground me. I need to be grounded. I need Steve. I need my Queen's bartender I need him.